Alright, what is going on guys? It's Tazz here, and welcome back to the channel. Now recently we had the return of The Flash for its 5th season, which introduced us to quite a lot in its first episode. We got a lot of new information about Nora and the time she comes from, as well as a bit about what happened to Barry in Nora's future. So if you guys have not seen the premiere for Season 5 of The Flash, spoiler warning, but with that out of the way guys, let's continue. First off, I just want to say I really did love this premiere. It was basically the perfect episode. I thought that the humor was great. I really loved Nora and her story with Barry and Iris and the rest of Team Flash. I also loved the new suit, Caitlin finding out that her father faked his death, and I just think that the premise for the season is a really solid one, especially with that really cool cicada scene at the end of the episode. I also really enjoyed the scene on the plane where Barry was reciting that same speech that Welzebard gave him to help phase through objects, so that was really nice having him pass that on to Nora. But one of the big reveals of the episode, outside of the revelation of Nora's mistake being that she helped Barry destroy the satellite at the end of last season, we also got to figure out what happened to Barry in the future, which is directly responsible for why Nora came back in the first place. During that really emotional scene between Barry and Nora in the time vault, she revealed that only a couple of years after she was born, Barry disappeared in 2024 like the article that we've had for the entirety of the show has said. But the big problem with Barry's disappearance in the future revealed by Nora is that 25 years later in 2049, Barry is still missing. So as Nora's monologue at the end of the episode suggests, it seems like the goal of the season, at least for her, will be preventing the events from the 2024 article from coming into fruition so that Barry never disappears in the first place. Now, the circumstances surrounding Barry's disappearance in the 2024 Crisis event are still a bit shaky. All we really know is there's a fight with him and the Reverse Flash, and some other heroes are involved, and then Barry and the Reverse Flash both disappear, and at least Barry stays gone for the next 25 plus years. Also, from another trailer that was released for the future episodes of the season, I think it might just be an episode 2 trailer, but there could also be some shots from some future episodes in there as well. But we do see that it seems like everyone on Team Flash will find out about this 2049 article sooner rather than later. But going off of this future article from 2049, even though I am sure it is all subject to change, there is still some pretty interesting stuff in there to take a look at. Starting from the beginning, it is obviously written by Iris West Allen in the future from 2049, and it is also in the Central City Citizen, which is the newspaper that is said to be created by her within the future as well. So let's just read through the article. The first section says, "It was a beautiful spring day in Central City, not so different from that morning years ago when the clear blue sky turned to crimson red and the Scarlet Speedster vanished in a crisis. Thousands gathered here at the Flash Museum to commemorate that day's quarter-century anniversary. Names were read of the other victims of the attack, and Governor Singh gave remarks on the Flash's enduring legacy." So pretty cool there, that first little section. I guess the only real thing that we can take away from that is that Captain Singh becomes governor one day, so that is a pretty cool promotion for him. And we also did get a mention of the Flash Museum, which was also mentioned earlier on in the episode. The second section reads, "The details of the Flash's disappearance remain murky. A 2026 congressional commission repeated the citizens' initial reporting. Hours after the sky turned red, the Flash and his allies fought the Reverse Flash. The ensuing street battle caused the most destruction the city has ever seen. It was not until the Flash and Reverse Flash disappeared in an explosion of light that the chaos ceased." So again, nothing too big here, just repeating what we already know from the 2024 article, that the Flash teamed up with some other heroes to fight the Reverse Flash, and then they both disappeared. This third section of the article is definitely one of the most interesting ones. It reads, "But in the years following the crisis, accounts only grew more contradictory. Some eyewitnesses remember dozens of other heroes present, including Green Arrow, Batwoman, and Elongated Man. Others remember heroes lost in time like the Atom, or from other worlds like Supergirl. Some even contend they saw Reverse Flash leading an army of shadow demons." So like I said, probably the most interesting of the few different sections of this article, we got a Batwoman mention, and this would be a lot more surprising if we obviously didn't already know that she was coming, but it is definitely pretty interesting given that the crossover is titled Elseworlds, and she pops up in a newspaper, obviously from Earth 1. So does that mean that Batwoman in fact is on Earth 1 and isn't from an alternate universe, and maybe the threat that we're going to be seeing in the crossover is from another world, and maybe that is why it's called Elseworlds? But this could also be a fun little throwaway line in the newspaper article to help hype up the crossover and Batwoman's introduction to the Arrowverse. But the other big part from this section of the article was obviously talking about the Reverse Flash leading an army of shadow demons. My first thought when I heard shadow demons, I kind of thought of the Time Wraiths, so maybe somehow the Reverse Flash got the Time Wraiths on his side, and maybe that is what ended up contributing to the disappearance of him and Barry. But moving on to the final section of the article that we can see here, it reads, research has focused on Roger Hayden, aka Psycho Pirate, who claims to remember the night's true events. He said upon his arrest, quote, worlds lived, worlds died, nothing will ever be the same, end quote. And nothing ever was. Staring up at the golden statue of the Flash, this reporter remembered the words of former police chief Joe West. We don't have many details. What we do know tonight is Central City's greatest protector vanished in a flash. So another very interesting section of the article, we get another name drop of a new comic book character, Psycho Pirate. We also get mention of a golden Flash statue, which is most likely outside of the Flash Museum like it is in the comics, and also in that little tease that we saw back in season 1 when Barry was running through the timeline. And finally, in this section, Iris refers to Joe as former police chief. So does that mean that Joe has retired, or has he died at this point in the future? Let's just have our fingers crossed and say that he retired, but congrats to Joe on the promotion to police chief at some point. So overall, guys, that is some pretty interesting and crazy information in this article written by Iris in the future, to say the least. It probably doesn't mean much considering how they've dealt with the 2024 newspaper in the past, but it is pretty cool to see that whether they may or may not have this stuff planned for the future of the show, it is still really cool to see this information here in this future article from 2049. But who knows, maybe we'll get to see more of this future stuff with the Reverse Flash and everything in the 100th episode or later on in the season, so very excited for the possibilities. But other than that, guys, I want to know your thoughts on all of this down in the comments below. What do you think of the 2049 article? What did you think of the season 5 premiere? And how do you think Barry's disappearance in 2024 will be resolved? I want to know your thoughts on all of this down in the comments below. But until next time, guys, it's been Tazz, and I'll see you guys in the next video.